Hey, thank you, Jenny, and welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Well, welcome to this. I think the first joint seminar between ITS UK and ITS Malaysia in quite a long time. I'm very pleased to be able to kick this off. As you're probably aware, we've had such an interest. We've set up effectively a 2-day seminar, 2 hours today and 2 hours tomorrow. Today is very much a kind of the forward-looking day, so there will be several exciting presentations on what the future is likely to look like, as far as we can tell from now. And tomorrow is more about how we get from where we are now to the future. It's a very busy schedule today. What we'd request is you put questions in the Q&A, please, and we will try and collect those at the end and have a brief question and answer session today. We've got a little more time tomorrow. We've got one less presentation to squeeze in, so we should be able to get more questions and answers tomorrow than we have today. So I'd say it's a busy day, so we'll push on immediately. Danny, I wonder if you'd be able to play. We have a welcome address from the British High Commissioner, UK High Commissioner, Charles Hay, that Danny will now play for us.
A very good afternoon or good morning to all attendees. I'm delighted to open this event and welcome all of you to this dialogue between ITS UK and ITS Malaysia. Firstly, I'd like to thank ITS UK, ITS Malaysia and our UK Global Future Cities programme for jointly organising this dialogue. Today's theme of how technology and innovation can support sustainable transport development and inclusive mobility is extremely relevant and timely. We live in a time of unprecedented change in the transport system. Changes in the nature of working and shopping, new technologies and behaviours such as automation, vehicle electrification and the sharing economy are already having a major impact on how the system functions, and COVID has speeded up some of these trends. Our ageing populations will benefit from technological advances in electric power, digitalisation and automation. These technologies will bring opportunities, offering incremental improvements to existing systems as well as some radical new approaches. However, they also bring challenges. A focus on people is central to the future of mobility. Given the impact of these new technologies, more than ever, transport is about creating green, safe, healthy, connected and inclusive communities, and about enhancing economic growth and productivity. The Global Future Cities programme in Malaysia has been supporting Iskandar Malaysia and Malacca City to develop smart and sustainable mobility solutions for the future, with a focus on creating greener environments and addressing gender, inequality and social inclusion needs. We've already seen some very interesting findings from the programme. One of the key programme outputs is the development of a robust ITS master plan for Iskandar Malaysia, integrated with the overall mobility system, which will drive evidence-based planning. Along with that, the programme is also working to put together a capacity building plan to ensure suitable skill sets are developed in government authorities. That will be essential to get best value out of the technology systems and to enable better use of data. Therefore, I'm very glad to see events such as this are being organised to provide a platform for knowledge exchange, drawing lessons from the industries in the UK and in Malaysia, as well as from the Global Future Cities programme in Malaysia. I wish you all the very best in having a productive dialogue today and tomorrow, and I'd like to thank all of their speakers for their contribution and their valuable insights. Thank you very much.
There we go. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Please pass on our thanks to the High Commissioner for his address.
Will do.
Now pass on to a welcome address more specifically on for today from the President of ITS Malaysia, Mr. Ismail Sali. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Your Excellency Charles Hale, High Commissioner of United Kingdom to Malaysia, Friend and Association. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfectly.
Good
Thank
morning
you.
or good afternoon to you all, wherever you are. Welcome to the webinar jointly organized ITS UK and ITS Malaysia, supported by the Office of the British High Commissioner and Iskandar Regional Development Authority or IRDA for Malaysia. I am very thankful to the working team from the ITS UK and the ITS Malaysia, as well as the British High Commissioner Office and the Mott MacDonald for successfully organized this virtual event. It give me a great honor to address this important webinar. The theme of the webinar is ITS Road to the Future. Is most relevant as we are now in the increasingly challenging world. The world has now come to know that COVID-19 is a viral disease that mankind have to live along with the COVID-19 causes us to live to our life in a restricted manner for some time now. We hope the world will gradually open up, and again we will be able to interact with another in the convention hall rather than looking at computer or handset screen to speak. We hope this time will come soon for us to organize in-person seminar benefit our members. Many of us travel staff are looking forward to attend activities event outside the country. We have a very good number of experts in the program today and tomorrow who will be sharing their knowledge, experience, and know-how. UK, Malaysia, sharing a lot of community. I believe this joint webinar is also a good opportunity to reconnect, to share our experience. Admittedly, Malaysia is still in the early stage of ITS deployment or doing any R&D. We hope the ITS Malaysia Blueprint 2019-2013 with the first advancing technology development and emphasis on digital economy, ITS initiative move along in a very dynamic situation, and our ITS Blueprint may soon be necessary for the update. Our ITS Blueprint made reference to the 11 Nation Plan. The 12 Nation Plan has just passed in the Parliament session last month. It was the time for us to review and update the ITS Blueprint in line with the inspiration of the Malaysian government advancing sustainability, continuity, and transport infrastructure, and focus on the prudent carbon management. Likewise, the National Transport Policy 2019-2030, published by the Ministry of Transport, outlined, among others, delivery of intelligent, safe, and secure transport system, efficient, sustainable use of resources, and minimize environmental pollution. The transport and the mobility policy as laid down by the Malaysian government is very clear. However, the goal may be achieved more effectively with the update of the more advanced technology and ITS initiative. I understand that the Smart Integrated Mobility Management System, or SIMMS system undertaken by IRDA with the British technical advice will involve substantial ITS application. I believe SIMMS will provide good impetus for the country to advance forward to Malaysia of ITS. ITS Malaysia is very keen to work together with fellow ITS organizations. We cannot be an island, but need to be collaborate with more advanced country in the high tech field. We look forward for more engagement with the ITS group in Asia Pacific and the UK to achieve common goal. I hope this webinar will give insight of our future and wish a webinar all the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Now I'd like to kick off on the first of our presentations from Tom Grimslaw of WSP, who will be presenting on the digital roads work that they've been doing recently. That's Tom, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Stuart. I'll just share my screen and let me know when this comes through. What I just wanted to do was outline and give you a little bit of visibility of some work that we've been doing in collaboration with National Highways. So I know that my colleague at National Highways, Amy Baker, I think is on the call today. And the two of us, alongside KPMG and some other colleagues within our organisations, have been working on developing a digital roads vision for the organisation. So just to set a bit of the scene, National Highways, for those that aren't aware, manage and improve the strategic road network in England. and that looks at developing the motorway networks, the high-speed roads that you can see there on the image, and some of the strategic A roads across England. And Digital Roads was born probably a few years ago now, and the organisation recognised that digital was becoming a trend that was impacting everything that they did. And so a piece of work was commissioned to look across the organisation and identify any piece of work that was deemed to be digital, related to technology, connectivity, and group all of that together to give full visibility of everything that was happening across the strategic road network in that particular space. And from that, the Digital Roads piece of work was born, and that brings together all of that work that's happening, groups it into appropriate themes, and then looks to future trends, really to understand the direction of travel over the short, medium, and long term. And we'll get on to what that looks like in a second. So just to start, Digital Roads is looking to harness data, technology, and connectivity to improve the way the strategic road network is designed, built, operated, and used. So what we're looking at here is a digital transformation of the entire life cycle of the strategic road network, from right at the beginning to designing and constructing new sections of road, building new types of concepts like smart roads, through then into the operation and maintenance phases of the work that National Highways do, and then ultimately looking to the longer term around the digital for customers piece. So really that customer experience, enhancing the experience that users of the road network have, enhancing the information provision that we can provide to really improve their journeys from a safety, consistency, and operational performance perspective. So like it says on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here, bringing all of those opportunities together, looking at those future trends, identified those three themes as core functions of the life cycle of the strategic road network, and then ultimately the digital transformation of everything that National Highways do. Conscious you won't be able to read a lot of this content, but I think Jenny and Stuart will be sharing the slides afterwards, so please feel free to delve in. But what this image really does look to outline is that journey from right at the beginning of understanding how the network currently operates, to bringing through data and using better use of technology and connectivity to really look at what interventions can enhance the operation of the strategic road network, to really improve the way that we design, construct new schemes, how we move then into the operational phase. So better use of data to really enhance the operational performance, looking at use of technology to allow more proactive interventions to operate and maintain the network, through then to the customer experience on the right hand side here. And the real focus around customers is the information that we provide, both pre-journey, during people's journeys, but also how we collect feedback, how we collect data post-journey as well, to really create this loop whereby we can really change the way that designs and construction and then the operation and maintenance of the network will continually improve the experience for the customer. This image looks to 2025. The Digital Roads vision actually spans all the way to 2050. And 2025 identifies the way that National Highways secure their funding. So they're on 5-year funding cycles, road investment strategy cycles. And 2025 is deemed to be the Digital Roads vision for the foundation. So really creating that foundation that we can build upon with increasing technology improvements, increasing levels of connectivity and automation in the long term. So over the next 3 or 4 years, each of these blocks of text represent an ambition for the organisation. to deliver an improvement within this particular space. And like I say, we'll be sharing the slides after so you can really look at some of the detail in here. Just taking you now through each of the three themes and really what each of the three themes looks to explore. So as you can see on the left-hand side here, we start with design and long-term planning. So that better use of data, that connectivity with the roadside, really drawing all of that data through into information that can inform design and long-term planning is a real key element to the digital roads vision. It gives the organisation much greater understanding, visibility and awareness of what's happening in the current state. With all of that information, we then move to greater use of technology in the design process. So really embracing digital design tools. National Highways have created what's called a rapid engineering model, and that model takes all of the existing asset and operational performance data alongside the digitization of design standards and automates the design of some concepts within their remit and creates an outline design, reducing timescales really from what used to be probably a number of months to get to that outline design phase and down to just a couple of days through that automation, through that better use of technology. Then we move across to the next circle and through that standardization of design, through use of standardized components, moving more to modern methods of construction and modular offsite manufacturing, we're able to move to more of a production mindset around the delivery of major projects within National Highways and on the strategic road network. And what that allows is a lot of the work that used to happen at the roadside to be taken into offsite locations where obviously it's much safer, you put less exposure on people to dangerous situations. Those standardized components and modular components can then be delivered to site and assembled in a much more efficient and quicker way. But just before we do get to site, we're introducing new digital tools that will enable us to rehearse those site activities. So actually in the safety of an office, we're able to rehearse the construction of a gantry, the construction of an emergency area, the construction of a lighting column, whatever that might be, in a safe environment, test the methodology, adapt that methodology so that by the time we get to the last circle on the right hand side, we've got the most efficient method, the safest method of constructing that particular asset. And what we were also looking at within that last circle is increasing levels of connectivity and automation in plant to really make a step change really in the way that we deliver from a safety perspective, but also drive that efficiency, reduce error and get things right first time. So that takes you through the first third of the life cycle. Then we move into digital operations, which is the second theme. And the vision here really is about improving National Highways' ability to operate and maintain the network. So if we start on the left-hand side here, we're looking at introducing technology to enable us to better understand asset condition and really identify faults or trends that lead to faults before they actually happen. And what that moves Highways England, National Highways more into is a proactive methodology for maintenance rather than a reactive state in which you find most major infrastructure providers in today's world. And it's about harnessing that data, making sure that it's being used in the right way to be predictive in the way that we can optimize that intervention, be that maintenance, be that operation. And then using technology across the organization to better coordinate. So at the minute, as you can imagine, with an organisation the size of National Highways, there can be some areas of silo working, as there can be in any organisation. And what Digital Roads is looking to do is bridge that gap. It's about creating visibility to each directorate within the organisation and bringing together those plans to better coordinate activities, better coordinate ongoing maintenance with major projects and major interventions on the road network, with the aim really of reducing that disruption to customers and improving that efficiency and delivery. Then moving across, we look at how we manage and detect incidents. So at the minute, we're reliant on some roadside technology that I'd say has probably been out there for a number of years, if not decades. It's about introducing new technology to detect incidents much quicker than we do today, and then linking that technology up to automatically update roadside signs and signals in a much more accurate way that also adapts to the situation as it unfolds. We find quite a lot of the interventions currently are manual, and this really is about shifting more towards that automation of response. And then looking how across the network, not only just for incidents, National Highways can be adapting to other types of challenges that the network faces, and how they can preempt interventions that will allow improved operational performance and keep that traffic flowing. So it may well be more predictive analysis to traffic conditions and actually preemptively setting signs and signals to keep traffic flowing, to reduce the likelihood of flow breakdown and improve that customer experience throughout. And then finally, those that do need to be at the roadside, so some of the traffic officers that help maintain traffic flow, respond to incidents on the network. It's about making sure that they've got the right technology, that they're better connected to the control centres, better connected to one another as well, to improve the effectiveness of their role and their ability to provide that better experience to customers. And then finally, the third theme around customers. So this is about enhancing that customer experience through better use of data, technology and connectivity. So it's about identifying opportunities to give customers the best available information before they even set off. So be that personal users of the network, families, all the way through to business needs as well. So they've got full visibility of the condition of the strategic road network, the current performance, expected performance as well over the time horizon that they're looking to use that section of the road network. And it's about using digital channels in which to do that. Part of this is working, as it says in the fourth image, working in collaboration with third parties and recognizing that National Highways have a huge amount of data that can really help customers, but actually there are other organizations, third parties, that probably have a better means of communicating with that customer base. So we can use Google, Waze as a prime example of that. National Highways collecting all of that data through roadside assets and infrastructure, and allowing third-party organizations to tap into that data source to enhance the experience that customers then have in use of the strategic road network. It's also then about using and leveraging data and technology to make better decisions around customers' use of the network. So looking at certain types of incidents, certain types of scenarios that occur on the network, collecting data about those specific interventions so that actually we can use the technology to enhance the experience of those customers in the future. We can adapt the operational procedures to provide a better experience that is not only safer, but enhances the overall operation of the network. And then it's about keeping customers informed in journey. And I know Andy in the next presentation is going to talk about some of that in-vehicle technology, but just to give an idea here, we're looking at how the trends are changing from roadside infrastructure providing that information to much more of an in-vehicle technology approach. Won't say too much more because now Andy's like to talk about that. And then finally, it's about when customers do finish on their journey, making sure that we're collecting the feedback from them to enhance that performance of the network. It's about looking at the data and what the data is telling us has happened over that particular period, so that there's that continual improvement through greater visibility and awareness of what's happening. And finally, like I said at the beginning, digital roads is a vision that spans the next number of decades. 2025, which I've talked about in the majority of this presentation, is all about establishing that platform, establishing that foundation for future increases in connectivity, automation, and data sharing. And as you can see on the image here, you can see some of those long-term trends in the time horizons above, moving into more of a mobility as a service scenario, all the way through to connected and fully autonomous vehicles in the future. And I think the idea around this really was to set that long-term vision for the organization, to set a vision that allowed then the organization to adapt to the level of technology that they were going to use at the roadside, look at how they adapted to these trends within their own strategies, and really set that vision for the digital transformation of everything that they were going to do. But also recognize that, with ITS at the core of this strategy, that ITS has a fundamental part to play in delivering some of the longer term ambitions around improving air quality, reducing and eliminating harm with users and workers at the roadside, and moving towards a net zero carbon environment across the strategic road network. So that's everything from me. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and I will hand back to Stuart.
Thank you very much, Tom. We've managed to gain a little bit of time, so I wonder if are there any questions come through, Jenny?
No, all that's going on in the chat, Stuart, is I'm renewing friendships with various other ITSs, so that's nice. But yeah, I will flag up as soon as anything comes up. And since I've got my mic on, please, attendees, feel very free to put any questions and pass any comments you would like to. And if you think of some for Tom later on, it's not too late, just put them in. Famous last words, we seem to be doing okay for time.
I just have one for you, Tom. Reflecting on the work that we're doing in Malaysia in terms of the strategic master plan, in terms of digital roads, how are you integrating kind of existing equipment? You mentioned replacing with new technology that reacts faster, but presumably that's not a big bang. You can't rip everything out and replace it immediately. What's the kind of philosophy behind replacing existing equipment? Or, sorry, utilizing existing equipment rather than replacing.
Yeah, no, and that's a big part of digital roads. And like I mentioned, we've got this vision that spans all the way out to 2050. But really, in the short term, it is about making better use of existing technology. So the existing technology that's out there and the technology that's being rolled out as we speak, and over the shorter term, forms a really key part of the digital roads vision. I think what's recognised, though, is that there are a lot of opportunities to enhance the use of that technology at the minute and actually adapt to that technology to fit to the needs of the network in the short term. So if we look at some of the roadside technology that's out there in the minute, the variable message signs, the CCTV, the sensors that are embedded in the road surface, they form a fundamental part of the jigsaw, be that data collection, to give national highways visibility of what's happening today at the roadside and the performance of the network, but also offer us a baseline to think, okay, what elements do we need to improve on here? And it's about incremental steps that will enhance the performance of the network to a point then, and like I say, Andy's probably going to get onto this, whereby in-vehicle technology, there may be a tipping point and we start to move away from that roadside infrastructure. But absolutely, it forms a fundamental part of the existing technology.
So thank you very much.
We do have a question now from Euros Williams. Morning, Thomas. He says, how does the strategy cover the change from where we are now to connected and autonomous vehicles?
Great question. So, like I mentioned, we've got a 2025 vision, and that vision, we have a lot more detail around. We have a lot, I guess, a greater understanding and confidence around what's going to happen in the next 5 years. And that obviously doesn't allow for many changes from a connected and autonomous vehicle perspective. But what we do have is a 2050 vision. And what that 2050 vision has is trends built into it that recognize an ever-growing fleet and ever-growing capability around connected and autonomy. What National Highways are looking at, as I mentioned in the presentation, is with their funding being delivered on 5-yearly road investment cycles, the cycle before the one we get to, so we're currently in RIS 2, we'll be moving into RIS 3 from 2025. Within RIS 2, there's a lot of work that's going to be happening to look at the needs of the network and the evolution that digital roads will go through in that next 5-yearly cycle. And that's where the detail is developed, the ambitions are developed, the plans are developed, because you're close enough to have much greater confidence in what's likely to happen around the technology, around the connectivity, around the automation elements of it. So it's recognized that they are trends that we need to be adapting to. The level of confidence on tipping points for certain types of technologies isn't clear enough yet. But as we get to those particular points in time, the detail around the vision will be developed to look at how we integrate that technology and how we adapt to that future technology. But also in earlier periods, earlier road investment periods, throughout the entirety of the work we've been doing on digital roads, it's about looking at what we can do now in order to be best placed to adapt to those technologies in the future as well.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, our next presentation is from Andy Graham of White Whale Consulting. Andy's a long-term expert advocate of in-vehicle and other technologies. So I shall hand straight over to Andy for, I'm sure, what will be an entertaining presentation.
Okay, can you see my screen okay?
It's not
Just
in
need to go full screen
mode yet, but yeah, you can see.
No, it went all together.
Okay, just bear me a tick, sorry. See that now?
That's
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. I'm going to go quite quickly through a load of areas that we're doing in the UK about connected vehicles. From my perspective, connected vehicles are here now. I'd really like to talk about connected and PAWS, automated vehicles, because I think we're doing a lot of work that's quite interesting now. So I'd like to share that with you. So 2 things that you need to think about that are overlapping in connected vehicles. The firstly, data from vehicles, and I stress it's vehicles and not just cars. You can use data for better traffic operations, safety, for parking, but also to reduce costs. And we heard from Thomas about reduced cost of infrastructure, and I think we're pretty near to that tipping point. But you can also provide information to drivers of vehicles, and this improves the customer experience. So this is why they would want things in their vehicles. So, some facts that I think it might be worth sharing with our colleagues around the world is that the UK average age car is about 8 years, and it's growing because we've had fewer car sales this year. We have 33 million vehicles on the UK roads, and almost every single one of those has some form of smartphone. Which means we can't rely on new car technology because it won't come in quickly enough. We can't rely on electrification, and we can't rely on automation. So what I'm going to do is give you a taster of some very near to the future services and some services that are here today. And there's lots of links in there. So if you're interested, please ask for more detail. I can go through. The first service that I'd just like to share with you is something called eCall, which is an emergency service that's in the UK and around Europe, and it sends the vehicle's ID, its location from GPS, and various other bits of data about the vehicle if the airbag deploys, and it uses the cellular network. There's a manual button too, so those of you who are in the UK and you don't know if you've got eCall, have a look at that red button. And it's been mandatory in all new cars in the UK and Europe since 2018. And in the UK, we get about 10,000 eCalls a month now. And around 15 a day of those are from airbags. That's 15 relatively new vehicles that have been in an accident where that data is provided. That provides a very useful data set for motorway and safety and real-time operations, and also a useful historic data set to mine. And ITS UK was very, very instrumental in getting the publicity about how users should be using that. And then more importantly, when not to use it, because obviously pressing the button to say I've broken down in the car park isn't very useful. And we're exploring a number of projects for real-time use of that data in the future around the world. But to me, it's a very simple introduction to the use of connected vehicle data by road operators. If we don't get this right, then what hope have we got for all of the exciting stuff that's coming? So I'm not sure if eCall is available in Malaysia, but there's bound to be a few imported vehicles that would have it. But it's the first step in, from my view, connected vehicles. Then I'd like to talk to you about a project we've called Path. So floating vehicle data in terms of journey times is used in many services for around the last 20 years almost. But it's manipulated and averaged. And those of you who use Google's data will see average journey times. But we can now take individual traces from vehicles and use them to measure, for example, the performance of traffic signals. And a project we call Path, which we undertaken in York and 11 other UK cities, we used INRIX data to develop the measurements of delay from individual vehicles. So this wasn't averaging out, this was looking at individual vehicles. And clearly that could replace the existing roadside infrastructure that we use in future traffic control systems. We could move to more in-vehicle data. So this is what we do with the data. So this is time along the bottom, and this is distance along a road in York. And these are traces of individual vehicles as they move along the network. And this is all the various junctions and signals. And you can see there that on that particular day, there was a vehicle that took a long time because the gradient of the graph is quite slow. It took a long time to get through those signals. So we've developed a series of products that will be available for analysing signals, not just from terms of journey time, but looking at the individual path, that's why it's called Path, of vehicles through junctions. And we'd like to see in the future that we could take each of these individual data points and start using them instead of physical loops. An extension to that project, or a big view of that project, is something called BODS, which is the Bus Open Data Service. Buses in the UK tend to be subsidised by government funding. So that means is that when we wanted data on location of fares for apps and services, government was able to change the law and enabled a thing called the Bus Open Data Service. And all English buses now report their position in real time between 10 and 30 seconds, and we can show you that. And this data is available for everyone to use, be it you're an app developer or for bus priority, which we're looking at, or for traffic signal setting, in both real time and historic analysis. And lots of people are now mining that data very actively. They're using it for AI projects. for future services for buses in particular. And our path project can use BODS data that I just going to show you for bus delays at signals. And we'd like to think of BODS as being the first of a number of open data services that are being developed in England for traffic. BODS has been very successful. And there is a video which I will post but not show you today, which is the movement of every bus in England moving around in real time, which is quite interesting. So what can we do with BODS data? This is BODS data again for York, and it shows the path of a bus moving around the network. What it also shows is the latency of the time. You see there down at the bottom that some of those data points are really quite real time. So this is the latency between the timestamp of the GPS and it being available for use in real time. So we have a huge number of connected vehicles in the UK, all of which are buses. We have a huge number of connected vehicles, which include all those that have mobile phones from Google and data providers such as TomTom, Inrix and Here. So I think I would argue that we're already well on the way to connectivity. The key is to get road operators to use that data. Looking at it from the other way, from the customer, we want to find where parking spaces are, because there's a lot of time spent in the UK looking for spaces. We already use cheap in-road detectors that use Bluetooth for detecting whether a key spot is occupied. But it's very difficult to do all of the roads in a city because of that. And also in times of stress, like we've got Christmas shopping coming up, you want to be able to know where any spaces are. So the question is, can the car detect spaces? Or better still, the smartphone that we use for nav. So if you imagine that your phone is pointing at you with your navigation, but the camera is pointing out at you, out into the road. So a project I've been working on with a company called Appiway, we use image processing of the smartphone camera and 5G cloud processing to find spaces and report them. And as the vehicle drives around, within 12 seconds, we can push that out onto the cloud and into the following vehicles to find spaces. So again, using existing technology in a different way to develop new services and services that people would want in their vehicle, services that people might indeed pay for. The beauty about parking is that it already has generally money involved. So the concept of being able to pay for these services is very interesting. Now I'd like to talk about information into vehicles. So if you've got a smartphone that's collecting data, you can use it to inform the driver too. And so the thing about smartphones is that they can be the core of a new vehicle's connectivity. So many new vehicles will have an operating system from Google in the same way as your phone has an operating system. You can add them to an existing vehicle via a head unit with Android Auto and Apple Car for vehicles built in about the last 5-10 years. Or you can hold it in a cradle. And the beauty of it is the camera points out and the screen points in. And the other beautiful thing is that users pay for all that data and for the sensor in their vehicle. And the really important point is that smartphones can do speech interfaces to reduce distraction, which I'll try and show you in a minute or so. So if you think of this as a channel both into and out of vehicles, there are other devices. So for example, this is an OBD2 dongle. You plug this into your OBD2 port and it reports the movement of vehicles. We use that for detecting potholes. So when this thing goes up and down, we know there's a damage to the road. But smartphones are also able to do that to some extent now. So there's a whole load of services that we're developing in the UK that are very much aligned with customer services. So the one I'm working on with two companies called Eloy and KL Systems are the in-vehicle signing. So we saw on the highways, national highways idea of repeating signs into the vehicle. We can do that already. We can repeat physical signs both for emphasis. But the interesting thing is we can do a language independent repeat of the sign. So the sign might be written in English, but we can write that in a foreign language. For example, if the Channel Tunnel is closed, we can write it in French. But we can also put virtual signs in where you can't afford or you can't physically install a fixed sign. And we can target those at key users. So we can have messages just for trucks. And apps are now available to overlay the virtual signs over SatNav and also complete the signs from both Eloy and from KL. And we can set up virtual signs anywhere very quickly. So we've set up a virtual sign in your local area, which I shall show you in a second. There we go. So we've set up a sign. If you're able to drive along that motorway with the app that we've got, you would be able to see that message appear in the vehicle. I believe ITS Malaysia is somewhere around here. Do correct me if I'm wrong. So what we can do with in-vehicle signing is that we can repeat VMS. And for those of you who will be looking at this later on, this video won't show, so it's on YouTube, but let's just show what happens. Hopefully the sound will appear. So this is National Highways physical signs being repeated in the vehicle. So you should be able to see a virtual sign come up.
M4 closed J5, J6.
And there's the message on the physical sign.
Virtual sign notice, J7 3 mins, J9 14 mins, J10 18 mins.
And there's the physical sign. So hopefully that worked okay. The key thing there is that we can integrate that on top of a sat nav so that you don't have to turn your sat nav off. You can keep your sat nav running. There's another service called Glosser, which is about green light, optimum speed advisory. That uses the same approach as in vehicle signing, and in some cases the same app. It takes traffic signal timings from UTC system, predicts when the green will start and end, and it advises the driver on the time that the green will be at and the speed to drive at. And this has been tested by a number of sites in the UK, and it saves emissions, it saves vehicle wear, tyres, brakes and fuel. And it's also popular with drivers as it reduces stress, and it may well improve safety. Now, here's some results from a slip lane: 27% average reduction in carbon dioxide, 17 reduction in NOx, and a saving of 12.5 pence per stop in fuel use, which doesn't sound very much for a car, but if you imagine that you're a HGV operator and you're doing thousands and thousands of runs. So again, a bit of in-vehicle tech, doesn't really require in-vehicle equipment, uses a mobile phone, and has some really quite interesting results, particularly in terms of emissions. This is all very fine, but what we don't want is to have an app for Glosser and an app for speeding and an app for parking. So what the idea might be is that many people have Google Maps in cars, so we can build on top of that in terms of sat-nav. Eloy are already working on that in terms of messages on sat-nav, as are KL systems. But there's another way, which is the idea of having an app that deals with all of your payment for tolls and parking and road taxis, and integrates those in-vehicle services from that point of view. So there's an app called Cara that we've been working with that will pay all of your tolls for you. And the key thing here is to think about customers, because as road engineers and ITS engineers, you're still a customer when you get in your vehicle. And quite often, I think we design things for engineers rather than from customers. So just to prove that any vehicle can be connected, a few weekends ago with a couple of colleagues from ITS UK, we connected up these three vehicles. There's a 1900 Daimler, a 1903 Daimler and a 1902 Moors, and they drove from London to Brighton, which is around 100 kilometres. And we equipped them with a load of technology that showed the location of the vehicle. We could do in-vehicle messaging, as you've just seen, into the vehicle using a smartphone. And we were able to provide dedicated sat-nav about the specific route that you need to take if you're in a car that's 121 years old. And there's a video, which I won't show now, about that, but it just shows that technology isn't all around new vehicles. And in the UK, we're very much focused on some of our heritage as well. And we'd like to keep these vehicles running on the roads for many years to come, and by connecting them, we can ensure their safety. So some key messages from me. Firstly, connected vehicles are here and now. We talk about connected and autonomous vehicles, but they're here. Everybody's got connectivity in their car, be it from a smartphone or in vehicle new tech. And it's not just new vehicles, and it's not just cars. There's HGVs. We're working on connected cycling, and all sorts of other road users. But as we saw earlier on, the near future offers so much more, particularly working with people like National Highways. I hope this has shown you the UK has some really innovative ideas and services that are available. You need to think about the driver, not the technology. So quite often we have all these lovely diagrams of all this roadside beacons and stuff, but actually who's going to pay for it and so on. And just remember that anything that delivers data to the driver can also deliver data for the road operator. And the whole theme about today is getting connected, and we'd like to take on, thank you for the opportunity. My thanks to both Eloy and KL Systems, because they helped me with the following. So hopefully when I play this video now, you'll get a message from us to ITS Malaysia, driving around England, and here's a message on a virtual sign. So thank you very much. I hope that gave you a taster of what we've been doing in the UK. And I hope that did say thank you very much in Malay and not something very rude. So that's what we've been doing. It's a bit of a contrast to what you hear from National Highways. We're quite a few small and medium enterprises, quite innovative, but we're working with what's existing, and we're trying to make the most of the roads and the data and the vehicles that we've already got. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Andy. I have just one question, and I guess it was slightly triggered by, I don't know, you may have seen in the press about the Tesla app failure that locked everybody out their cars. And I just wonder how realistic it is that we're going to be able to integrate all this information into a reasonable number of apps that people can use, or whether you're going to have an app to get into your car, an app to get out your drive, an app to get along to the strategic highway.
Well, I think I've just tried to show the answer to that. The answer is get something that customers want. Yeah. So customers like Google Earth, Google Maps, build on top of that, integrate SatNav. Things like parking, at the moment, there are far too many apps in the UK for parking. There's a whole raft of them. You can only use them. We want to integrate those in one place with a project called the National Parking Platform that I'm working on. The thing about Tesla is this app does everything. Apps opens the car for you, pays electricity, whatever. So that's kind of Tesla's early days problems. I don't think we would want to live with a load of silos, as we heard earlier. I think we want to live with an area where vehicle manufacturers and service providers could provide a whole host of services of single integration into their vehicles or apps. And the idea of open data, APIs and so on facilitates that. I don't think we would ever want to go down the route of having people to change apps as they drove along. That's what the car can do. And what we demonstrated on that London to Brighton run was we only had one app, but it did everything, and it was context sensitive. So it told you about the start of the route when you were at the start of the route. It told you about the route when you were halfway through. It congratulated you on getting to Brighton when you got there. But it also didn't mean that the passenger and the driver had to do anything. It was all context. So I think if I had one thing, it's think about the customer and what they want, and don't think as an engineer about what's easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Henry.
My pleasure.
Okay, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is Mr. Datuk Zakaria Ahmad Zabari, who is Chief Operating Officer of Plus. I know Plus as the toll road operator in Malaysia, but it may well be much larger than that. Looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Stuart. Let me share my screen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share Plus journey toward the transformation of our Traffic Monitoring Center, or TMC, by adopting the latest technology, applying the modernization and the digitalization initiative. I think TMC, or Traffic Monitoring Center, is just one element of the operation of Plus Highways. We decided to go through this transformation journey or digitalization journey simply because it helped our organization in terms of achieving several objectives, such as improve our business processes, increase or improve our productivity across the organization, better users experience, employee engagement, so on and so forth. So with that, let me go to the first slide. For the benefit of our colleague in the UK, who we are, I think Stuart had gave a brief introduction just now. We are the toll highway concessionaire, the largest actually, with a total length of over 1,100 kilometers. As you can see from the map here, the Peninsular Malaysia map, our highway span across the west coast peninsula of Malaysia from the northern part bordering with Thailand to the southern tips of peninsula bordering with Singapore. We are also operating the East Coast Highway between Jabu and Kuala Terengganu by providing operation and maintenance services. All in all, we are managing an average daily traffic of 1.7 million, and this number was before the COVID-19. Now, a little bit more about our major assets as well as facilities. As you enter into our toll plaza, and you will see in all these are typically the major asset as well as the facility that you can see involve around 104 toll plaza. In terms of lane kilometers, certain stretches of the highway, 2 lanes, dual, 3 lane, dual, and so on. In terms of lane kilometer, we have a total of more than 5,000 lane kilometers. From ITS component, we have quite a number of closed circuit TVs, variable messenger system, drones, which is the latest addition in our operation and maintenance regime. Now, before we go to TMC, our Traffic Monitoring Center, I would like to just recap a bit about Malaysia, ITS Blueprint. It started off in 1999 when we have our ITS strategic plan. Today, after 20 years, we have our Malaysia ITS Blueprint, to 2019 to 2033. It has 4 strategic pillars. As you can see here, item number 1 in terms of intelligent mobility, congestion-free infrastructure, safety, as well as commercial operation. As you see, those items in the red boxes are those items that particularly relevant to us, to highway industry. More specifically, on the left-hand side here, those items in the red boxes are those that related to PLUS, for example, electronic tolling system, traffic surveillance, our PLUS traffic monitoring center, which I'm going to deliberate more later on, as well as the automatic awareness safety system, which is the AWAS. From PLUS perspective, we have gone through technological evolution from the day one. We started off in 1994, yeah. From toll collection perspective, we started off with the touch and go as well as the smart tag. Then we move on in 2017, where we migrated to 100% full electronic toll collection, where we no longer accept cash as a mode of tolling. And then in 2018, we move on to what you call it, TOR, or Toll Highway Operational Revolution, where we are making use of the cloud-based computing for our toll collection system. Only recently, 2019, we embarked on our TMC modernization, and also this is smart lane initiative to reduce congestion at certain part of the highway. This is a trial where we follow or we emulate UK or Highway England smart what we call it, paved shoulder initiative, where you open up your paved shoulder during certain time of the day and making use of the technology to increase the capacity of the road. This currently is ongoing, and the latest being RFID implementation for the country, still ongoing. We have not yet finished our journey, but due to be completed or expand to the other part of the country sometime next year. We're also looking at the oversized and overheight vehicle detection. This is the area where we have 2 tunnels along our stretch that it was designed over 30 years ago. There have been cases of overheight and oversized vehicle going into our tunnel and cause damage to our equipment and system. Last but not least, going forward from this year onward, we are looking at making use of the drone for our automated highway detection system, where we are working with the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, as well as the integrated way in motion. As you know, heavy lorry has been the major enemy for the road engineers. So this is a matter that we are working closely with the authority for the execution of the way in motion. Yeah. Now, a little bit about our TMC strategy. I think what is our TMC? In short, it is our one-stop center for traffic information and dissemination. Yeah. So it is at the heart of our operation. Why we need to embark on the digital transformation, because we want to prepare ourselves for a data-driven approach going forward. Now, what you show here is the evolution of our traffic monitoring center over the years. Of course, it started off with the local information center at the initial stage. We break up into regional basis, and then we centralize again into one place. And today, we are making use of latest technology, or whatever technology that we can afford at this point of time, to help our delivery system to become more efficient and more effective for our road users. Yeah. Now, what do we do in the day-to-day activities at our traffic monitoring center? As you can see here, of course, we run the center for 24 hours, traffic surveillance, as well as monitoring our patrolling team on the ground. Of course, we have to also manage our hotline call as well as through our emergency call. Like I said, we are also providing disseminate information to road users as well as to highway authorities, other authority enforcement agencies, and so on, through various means, social media, radio channel, and so on. We also, collate and compile all these, as well as giving feedback in relation to customer complaint through our customer complaint management system. And the last addition that we have is the managing crime. This is a new initiative which I'm going to deliberate a little bit further later on. A new system but being adopted by our patrolling team, so that the information from the site to our center is being done online and seamless. Yeah. On the right hand side of my screen, just to show the number of manpower, totaling of 87 numbers. It's quite big resources, running 3 shifts a day. So this is another reason why we need to actually automate as well as modernize the way we operate. On average, we receive 1,500 calls, but during a long weekend as well as festive period, the call can be as high as 3,000 calls in a day. 500 cases of breakdown on average daily. And what important here is the general inquiries in the tune of 800 inquiries per day. So if we can automate the general inquiry using automation, they will ease off the load among our agent and our traffic center. Now, as you know, transformation is a journey without a final destination. It is a continuous effort and a continuous process. Yeah, and when we look at our TMC, there are 3 key enablers here. Number 1 is the system and equipment. Of course, this is the software and the hardware part. If we wanted to modernize, we have to improve our system and equipment based on the technology that is available. Of course, when we move into the technological journey, the processes, the procedure, as well as the people need to move in tandem with the technological enhancement. Okay? Now, specific on our plus TMC transformation, this more or less interlink of various applications that we have in our TMC currently. The top part mostly is app application that related to our customers. The bottom part is in relation to our own operating team at our TMC. In the middle, it basically are some of the system that we use to actually integrate, and seamless communication between various app and application within our TMC. So in 2019, we already moved into 3 major projects, which is Prime. This is our patrolling real interface measurement system. Second project is on development of a chatbot. Yeah. Sorry, Putri chatbot. Chatbot, the first concession company in the country to actually apply chatbots. This is the area where we can actually reduce in terms of the 800 general inquiry that I already shared in the previous slide. And the third project where we are working on is on the project data lake. As you know, we receive a lot of information over the years, and we put everything into the data lake, so that tomorrow retrieval all the information, analyzing all the information can be done in the more simplified, easier, faster manner and more effective manner. Yeah. When we move into this revamp of our existing software, we are aimed at digitalizing the process input, as well as reduce the tedious and inefficient activities, as well as eliminating some silo database by consolidating the important data from every source or the subsystem. We also, by applying the +1 digital initiative, we are shifting actually from as much manual to knowledge, sorry, and knowledge base, minimizing the human mistakes. So this is gives you an idea about how we develop our TMC +1 system by improving the what we call it, the system integration, and removing the silo or independent subsystem that running. This is a classic example of our chatbot. As you can see, chatbot, we call it Putri in Malaysia. Putri means princess here, but with our context, we call it plus texting real-time interface. Yeah, it is a chatbot. As you can see on the left-hand side here, this is an screen of our Putri chatbot, where road user can communicate with our Putri from any of these 10 applications. If any of the user wanted to know what the traffic information or situation at any particular location, he or she can just click on the traffic information here and choose Putri with correspond or respond to your question accordingly by indicating the condition of the traffic at that particular location. Yeah. Putri is actually an AI software program that use natural language processing to hold a human-like conversation with customer. So ever since we launched this Putri chatbot in April last year, over 73,000 call or user have been received through Putri, of which traffic information, requesting information on traffic information has been one of the key inquiries. Here, table below here is comparison between chatbot as well as the traffic information inquiry through our hotline. As you can see, the usage, our road user is still comfortable of having to make call to our center to inquire about the traffic condition rather than making use of the chatbot. But however, as the chatbot was launched during the COVID period where we have less traffic, we got to actually intensify our effort to actually promote the use of chatbot, so that we can ease off some of the load from our agent, from our customer service, doing more other important things. Yeah, so this is one of the initiative. Next initiative is the improvement to our video wall. I think this is just like, between analog TV as well as smart TV, by having the IP-based video wall, we'll be able to, place the variety of content input as well as information and sources, as well as flexible interactive presentation on the screen. This is the typical output of our current traffic monitoring center. In time to come, with the data lake and database driven going forward, we endeavor to achieve, this kind of output for us to make decision, as well as to help us in terms of giving more effective and more efficient services to our road users. The table below here show the comparison of cost. A lot of people have the perception that when you move to technology, going to cost more. But from maintenance perspective, as you can see here, what was before and what's going to be after, you can see some savings by adopting this kind of technology because of the longer life, as well as the flexibility of the system. You may end up saving some money from the maintenance over long term. Now, another initiative is this one, is on time. As I explained before, this is our Plus Ronda or patrolling team at site. Previously, our people on the ground has to record incident manually, and then upon completion of their shift, they have to go back to the base and start rewrite, duplicating back the report into the system. But with the introduction of Prime, which stand for Plus Ronda Intelligent Management System, the information has been captured through some kind of iPad device on the ground itself, and automatically being downloaded into the system and into the center, so that the tracking of the any particular incident can be done in a more efficient manner. The response time also can be tracked through the system, as well as digitizing the process and eliminating the reporting through manually done. It's also give a realization in terms of savings with respect to use of paper and so on, as well as it enhance the safety of our Plus Ronda itself. Other extended service beyond Prime and Putri chatbot, as well as data lake just now, we are also exploring the use of drones for our asset inspection. This is the new initiative where we are working with the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation for us to develop what we call it the automatic slope defect detection system. So we are making use of the drone, artificial intelligence, as well as machine learning to help us in terms of maintaining as well as inspecting our condition of our major slopes. Yeah, so that is eliminate our people from having to climb up the slope, and in the end can be risking their life. So we can only dispatch them as and when we see some serious defect on the road for on-foot inspection. Going forward, we're going to do the same for pavement as well as structural automatic defect detection system, and then later on we will then migrate into traffic surveillance as well as operation surveillance system. That is our 5-year journey. Now, in addition to that, I'd like to touch a bit on the way in motion in collaboration with the Malaysian Highway Authority as well as other government agencies. We are moving forward towards implementing the way in motion devices for Malaysia. Certain part of the highway have already got this way in motion, but for Plus Highway we haven't got one, simply because it was not part of the original plan then. But today, as you can see, there are more and more, overloading lorry passing through our highway. We need to do something about it, and we are now looking into doing some trial, doing the enforcement together with the relevant authorities. Like I said just now, people are our asset as we move into technological journey, digitalization journey. We need to continuously upskill our workforce so that they can go in tandem with our advance of technology. Last but not least, going forward, in Plus we are looking at data-driven decision approach. A lot have been talked about use of data by Excellency just now, as well as by my colleague. So going forward, we are looking at how do we make use of the massive data that we have for us to make a decision, as well as making use of the data for our predictive analysis. So this is part of our journey going forward, and work still in progress. Yeah. So with that, that brings to the end of my presentation, and thank you for your kind attention. Back to you, Stuart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of that you were doing, particularly on the kind of AI and smart bot and responding directly to client. I can see how that would really take that workload off personnel. Just those very simple, mundane questions that, as you say, they all take 30 seconds or a minute to answer, and just hugely increase the workload on people.
Indeed.
We got one specific question coming from David Wong, and it was back to the use of the hard shoulder running, and he was wondering whether you've got any information on safety and accidents on the smart lanes at all yet. As you know, as you're probably aware, in the UK, it's a very hot political topic, and I wonder whether you've got any information from your side of things yet.
Thank you for the question. As I said, we are at the trial stage at this moment, so we don't have a full data yet on the effectiveness in terms of the number of accidents or any increase in terms of the incident that could have happened along the stretch. We are still doing some assessment, road safety audit on that particular stretch, but we do have some numbers in terms of how much impact of that making use of the emergency lane or paved shoulder in the UK. Here we call it emergency lane. In terms of increasing the capacity has give some great impact in reducing the congestion at that particular stretch. We do have the number. However, the impact of the accident or incident, we are still compiling, and we are working closely with the road safety auditors on the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to say that we've got Rudianto Azar of Iskandar Regional Development Authority, who have been in many ways our client for most of this project. He's head of the IMBRT, and I'll hand over to you to give your presentation.
Right. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, ITS Malaysia and ITS UK for inviting IRDA to share. The topic today is about the challenges that we have been facing in developing bus rapid transit system in Malaysia. So let me share my slide. Now, for the benefits of our colleagues in the UK, let me just share with you about Iskandar, Malaysia. We are an economic region at the southern tip of Peninsular Malaysia, in the state of Johor, bordering Singapore. We are an economic region, in fact, having 9 key promoted sectors. Our main mandate is to look into income generation, wealth generation, attracting investments into the region. The region consists of 2 million population now, and therefore with the wealth that we are attracting in, we also have to look into sharing those wealth equitably with the people, as well as at the same time looking after the environment. Now, over the last 15 years, the investment that we have roped in amounting to 341 billion ringgit, still a few more to go to achieve our target of 383 billion ringgit. Mostly from domestic investment, about 40% from foreign investment. With this wealth or investment that's coming in, here comes there are also some challenges that we are facing, especially when it comes to making sure the cost of living is actually growing at par with the income, with the economy that we are generating. As a result, there are three major items actually quite challenging to the people. Number one is about housing. Number two is food. Number three, transportation. For transportation itself, the people here in Iskandar, Malaysia has to allocate around 14.5% of their income to pay for mobility. And given that the area is huge, the people actually, the residential area actually quite scattered within Iskandar, Malaysia. Therefore, the amount of movement within the region is quite a lot. That is therefore, as a result, more and more people are being left out, away from the growth centers. So this project that we are working on, which is creating a more efficient public transportation system, is actually to bring that access to opportunities better, to bring a better efficient transportation into the region by means of introducing bus rapid transit. The challenges that we have been facing over the last few years, actually, first of all, is that we have to look into the ideas of promoting public transportation vis-a-vis the importance of roads. I know that we are talking about digital roads today, but again, this is one of the key challenges, because investment from the federal government into the roads is quite huge. If you see the 2022 budget, more funds will be spent on roads. However, we would like to focus here on the roads within the urban centers. Now, if we go back to the concept of urban development, we would be able to see that creating more roads will not solve the congestion. Yeah, adding lanes, adding more roads will induce more cars into the space. This is what's called induced demand. However, that is something that we have to manage between the agencies, between the works ministries and the Ministry of Transport. At the same time, achieving the level of the quality of living that the people is dreaming of now. Secondly, when we want to introduce a new system, a BRT system in Malaysia, we have actually explored quite a number of other modes of transportation, for example, MRT, LRT, monorail and trams, as well as maglev. The fact that we are neighboring Singapore, therefore we have also looked at ferry services carrying people from Iskandar to Singapore. Now, this is something that is quite sensitive topic in nature, because bus rapid transit, in a sense, is creating or taking away one lane from the existing roads that's been built. A dedicated busway for a BRT will mean that the buses will be able to travel unhindered. They don't have to compete with any vehicles, and therefore better services can be provided, more reliable services on time, as well as a more convenient journey for the people. Now, that is something really new to all the agencies here in Malaysia, be it Ministry of Transport or the Ministry of Works, what more with the local authorities. Now, the challenges that we are facing as well with regard to introducing a bus rapid transit is that the expectation of the public, from the public themselves. Buses is not something that is sexy, I must say, but again, a lot of engagement, going deep on the ground, meeting the people and going through their concerns and all that, reveal that it's not about the shiny metals that's on the road. Most of them are actually realize that the most important matters is actually on reliability, frequency, as well as the convenience of traveling. Therefore, this is something that we are still battling our way to win the trust and confidence of the people. Next, the challenges that we have been facing over the last few years, of course, this is something that everybody is facing, but let me just say that for Iskandar Malaysia, there's a unique situation with regard to the impact of pandemic. As you know, the cross-border movement between Iskandar Malaysia and Singapore is quite huge, about between 350 to 400,000 cars crossing the straits on a daily basis, and there are also about 150,000 motorcycles crossing every day. When the border actually locked up, suddenly there was no cars or motorcycles on the road. That is not something bad at all, but because we are doing at the moment, we were doing studies on origin and destination, mobility pattern, and all that. That's taken aback. That has an impact to the studies that we were conducting. Other than that, moving forward with this scenario in endemic phases and years down the road, we also noticed that the people's movements and mobility will be different. We will need to take consideration of new employment pattern within Iskandar as well as Singapore. There could be a different focus on the type of jobs and employment that is available or promoted by Singapore. Therefore, perhaps there will be less manpower required. There'll be more working from home. There'll be probably more shift work introduced. Therefore, the mobility patterns will definitely be different in the near future. Therefore, all these activities, all these new revelation will have to be factored into our planning. And what's best, what the best thing to have would be to capture all this data almost in real time, so that it can be factored into planning as well as operations. The other areas that's quite challenging to us is actually to find partners to be with us over a long-term period to make Iskandar Malaysia Bus Rapid Transit or IRT successful. From the project's perspective, to be sustainable. This project is partly funded by the government and partly funded by partners. With the current situation, data is really important element, resources for the investors to dive in, so that they can have a better picture of what's to come. So this is quite challenging because the data, especially ridership data, will change in the near future. Therefore, what we need is actually to have a more real-time data is coming in for both parties to actually plan through our next step. Now, focusing on the project itself, we are looking at this project to be operational by Q1 2024, and like I mentioned, we are now looking into the detailed design as well as finding the right partners for the systems and for the bus vendors. And the main reason for us to go into bus rapid transit system is actually boils down to these three major factors. Number one is that we need to provide extensive coverage to the area. Like I mentioned just now, the people in Iskandar, Malaysia needs to travel, you know, from one end to the other. The place is quite huge, and first mile and last mile connectivity naturally will have to come first. On top of that, the cost of building a bus rapid transit is quite acceptable, 7 to 10 times lower than rail. Looking at the network that we want to achieve, BRT comes as a natural choice for us to actually implement in the near future. Perhaps for the next 10 years, BRT will still be, you know, relevant. Again, the technology that comes with BRT is advancing itself, and 177 cities actually have adopted the system. Therefore, we are quite certain that times to come, the experience of the riders taking BRT will be just like rail. This is where technology comes into play very strategically. The main trunks that we are proposing, actually covering the whole area of Iskandar, Malaysia, you know, from east to west. The one on the green one actually covering to the west. We have one to the north, the red line, and the blue lines to the west, spanning over 55 kilometers with 28 stations. And these three lines will be supported by direct and feeder services. If you can see on the right side of the screen, we are introducing direct and feeder services that would cover altogether about 2,000 kilometers of services. With this, we are able to provide a flexible and open system so that the first mile and last mile connectivity can be addressed. Now, the technology that comes with the whole system will have to be robust and practical, because we should be able to address the public's you know, expectations in terms of its affordability, availability, and convenience. For the authorities as well as operators, we will also need to provide a very practical system as well as a real-time access to the situation that is happening on the ground. Plus, for the partners as well as to ensure financial sustainability, the areas that we are looking at is actually for the whole system to be able to provide seamless integration to the number of commercial opportunities that's coming. Now, these are the areas that we are looking at. For example, ticketing will need to be able to support a majority of available payment systems, like having now e-wallets. The way we manage the buses will have to be effective, and the way we manage the assets, the busway itself has to be almost seamless. Yeah, like for example, if you see here, there will be busway intrusion system installed, and we are also working with local institutions to do some research on road condition detection systems, so that all the dedicated busway can be monitored in terms of its health and maintenance almost instantaneously. This is my last slide to share. At the end of the day, what we're looking at is for this project to be able to have impact on the over 2 million people within Iskandar, Malaysia. Yeah. At the same time, be able to assist them to have a better quality living by giving them more options in terms of their mobility, reducing their cost of living by up to 35 to 45%. We have also looked into social and economic returns based on the research done in the UK. There was study to show that there are 4 times of spillover effect from the amount spent. So we believe that we can influence more and more industries to come here, to create more jobs and support more jobs within the Iskandar region. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rijanto. Yeah, there was a couple of things that I kind of noted down as I ran through, and was intrigued in terms of the how should we put it? It's almost like an anti-car lobby or pro-car lobby, and you're taking away a lane of our important highway, and me sitting in my car on my own, it's really important I get to work. I just reflect that we have something very similar in the UK. Both, and I'm based in Glasgow, and there's very specifically a kind of anti-cycleway lobby. There's cyclists using up my important highway kind of thing. And I'd be interested to see just whether there's a tipping point at which people then say, oh, actually, no, you can get 100 times more people in a BRT than you can in a car, and that makes it good value.
Yeah, you know what, Stuart? I'm sure everybody here is very familiar with traffic impact assessment, TIA. Yes. Yeah. This is a very sensitive topic when we talk about TIA and level of services. We're talking about 10 years down the road, how would it impact the people surrounding it? And yes, it's like, it's either anti-car or anti-public transport. That's, really, really tough discussion when it comes to TIA. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right, now I'd like to move on to our final presentation of the day, or the session anyway. We have a presentation by Howie Gam of Fox Traffic.
Thank you very much.
And I'll just hand over to you to give a quick introduction.
No problem.
So if you can speed up, that would be really good. Thank you.
Can you hear my? Can you see my presentation slides?
Your presentation has just come up. Yes.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much, Stuart. Good morning and good afternoon to all attendees and presenters. Thank you for each and everyone for being here with us today. My name is Howie Gan from Fox Traffic. I'm very pleased to be given this opportunity to present my topic, Chamber AI's traffic solution at the ITS Route to Futures panel. To start with, I would like to introduce a bit about myself and also our Chamber AI objectives and solutions. My name is Howie Gan from Fox Traffic. Our aim is to make the difference on data collections in Malaysia. I've been working in the traffic industry for the past 20 years. 7 years is in the UK and London, working for Sky High. Now the name is called Traxia. And from 2009, I've been working back to establish my company, Fox Traffic, for 13 years. And the objective is transform raw data, traffic raw data to platform into platform and dashboard so that we are able to share our informations. To develop Chamber AI is actually come from a very simple solutions that we are thinking of. In the markets, it has been a lot of data analysis using algorithm. But however, the cost is always very high and they need a very specific requirement, which is you must be in a very high angles and in a very high resolution. Again, our system is as well. We need a good resolutions, but we are able to take from a low angles. And over the past 3 years, let me bring to the Chamber AI products features. Over the past 3 years since 2018, we have been tested many different cameras, brands, and the features, and thousands of hours of data processing to let our machine learning Chamber AI software to achieve the standard that not only the permanent traffic survey, but also temporary traffic survey is also able to use this software. Without further delays, let me explain our Chamber AI product features. Firstly, we will need to conduct a temporary traffic survey setup with following our standard procedures. For example, we'll go to a location assessment. Safety always comes first. That's where I learned from the UK that they have trained me up well. When our camera setup and dispenser, we'll look at our safety first. Traffic management plan is requirements when we come to a highway, and we are regulations or complies with the health and safety. And once the data collects is done, we will send the data to our data center to ready for process. The video will be processed by our Chamber AI software. In the data processing, we will do a standard object detection, which is on the first columns in here. Data classification, object detection and classification. Currently, the software model has been trained and detect on Malaysia traffic vehicles. In order for us to achieve 90% accuracy and classification and 95% accuracy on total traffic volume, we have added in the features of object tracking and background subtractions to detect hidden and partially blocked vehicles. Moreover, an unsure or blur image, Chamber AI will produce image evidence, which on your right-hand side here. Each and every car which is unsure or blur, it will actually track down at the end of the video processing. And currently, we are using it manually clicking, okay, to classify it, and then it will, according to the time and second, to bring into the interval, so that we will not miss any of the traffics in terms of the volumes. The features of image verification over the time, it will be reduced once the machine learning database is strong and big enough, so that we can eliminate these works again. At the moment, our data processing that we've been doing has been reduced by a substantial amount of times and manual works to do this video image evidence verifications. And then once the video processing is done, we will transfer the raw data to our traffic monitoring and analyze system or the platform. Our Chamber AI are able to accept low angle video and imaging processing as low as between 14 feet to 18 feet. Of course, if it's a higher camera angle view, it will be much better. It will increase our accuracy as well. But for now, that we managed to train the accuracy to 90% in classification and 95% in total traffic volume. Once it comes into our data monitoring and analytics system, we are able to plot the projects each by drawing each and every of the location, the video imagings, and also the traffic classifications, graph, and etc., all just by a click of a buttons. Our current service are mainly serving to the private sector like traffic consultant, planner, petrol station, and developer. At the moment, for the data service, which is the traffic data, ideally we are doing this traffic data sharing platforms and also cloud data warehousing. Through our data sharing platform and data warehouse, we believe that we are able to contribute more efficiently and stronger data sourcing for the better futures plannings. Currently, that we have done a couple of projects, which is called the Toll Traffic Highway Traffic Volume Malaysia, which is THTVM. We have done this for the past 2 years, and on these 7 highways, which is the Grand Saga and Silk, Deal, NPE, SKVE, and the other 2 companies, which is under ProLintas, which is the GCE and LKSA. And this year, we also increased to another 2 more companies, which is Kesas Highway and also on Silk Highway. So I already mentioned, sorry. So for our long-term aim is to collaborate with more City Hall and governance body, such as ITS 2019 and 2023 blueprints. We believe we are able to contribute in the 2 focus areas in the ITS strategic pillar, number 2 and number 3, data information warehousing and traffic management center. Finally, we are passionate in the traffic data industry, and we will consistently improve our R&D to bring a better futures on data processing and data warehouse. And this will bring to the end of my presentation. And once again, thanks for listening and the opportunity for me to present it here. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Harry. It strikes me, I mean, one of the things I guess we've come through all today is how much data we're all going to be looking at in the future, and you know, from all sorts of different sources. Do you think, from your point of view, do you think there's a balance between the accuracy of the data and the amount of the data that somehow or other we have to get right?
Yeah, at the moment now that our data is actually collected all over the nations because we are a traffic survey company. The reason behind is like most of our data previously we are doing it with manually countings. So when manually countings, your accuracy, if we are doing 6 hours, I would say that your accuracy you still be like 80 to 90%. But if you are doing a 16 hours on your data processing, I've done it in the UK before, especially in the winter time. It's awful. It's really cold, and I have to wear lots of jacket, boots, and I'm not sure how accurate is that the data that we can get. If it's a 70% of the data accuracy that we getting, I'm sure that when we come to traffic impact assessment, so your traffic volumes is not accurate. so that the result that it come out, it will not be as accurate. Maybe you're planning for 5 years a traffic for the routes, but the level of service is probably like it will be chock of wood in the next 2 or 3 years due to the developments. So my idea is to compile all this, the past 10 years of my data, if I can compile it, and then to share with the local authorities or traffic consultants, they can actually see the patterns. And so it will give a better idea for a planning in terms of the traffic impact assessments. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and that was our final presentation for today's seminar. We've really kind of done, just check there's no further questions in the chat. No, there's not. We've kind of done questions and answers as we've gone through, so which is fortunate because we've just about run out of time now. I'd quite intrigued as we've gone through or reflect for 80 odd engineers on the call. We've actually spoken quite a lot about client requirements and customers and such things, and relatively little about imposing solutions on people. And I think that's a very, very positive statement and state of affairs for us. So I'm really pleased that the future is all about what people want rather than what we can give them. I think that's, I'd say, very positive for us. Just a small note, we'll follow up tomorrow with another 2 hours of presentations, looking a little more specifically at where we are and really how we get to the future that we've discussed today. If there's no further questions, then I will think we will probably just close the meeting now. A whole 5 minutes early, which I didn't expect to be
brilliant.
When we were halfway through and running out of time. I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Stuart, and thank you very much, ITS Malaysia. From ITS UK point of view, this has been brilliant. So thank you very much. And I think most of you, we're going to see again tomorrow morning. So look forward to seeing you then.